Okay, in front of you now is something that I put on the internet at brainout.net. Link will be in the sidebar, called Heb Cal Converter XLS. And I know it works because I downloaded it from my website, so that's how you can see it. Now, in this particular version, because I did it in a hurry, I didn't create little formulas to calculate off the vernal equinox, okay, to convert the Hebrew calendar to ours. So if you're an enterprising sort of soul, you can, put in the vernal equinox formula there and calculate formulas off of it. Okay, I didn't do that, and it takes a lot of times to do that, so if you do that, let me know, and then I'll steal your worksheet. Haha. Okay, but on the left-hand side, and you can download this, of course, on the left-hand side, you have the Davidic, calendar. In other words, the one that he instituted in order to have the priestly courses work right. All right, which was the original calendar, which is frankly keyed off Noah's birthday somehow, but I haven't figured out exactly how it's keyed off Noah's birthday. I just know that it is. But the point is that David organized in 1 Chronicles 24, as you saw in the Part 10a video. He keyed off of it to do the priestly courses so that each month would last 30 days. All right? I used the names that are the biblical names, not the modern names. Okay, so Abib was the name, at the time of the Exodus. Nisan became later post-exile. So that name I preserved because both names are sort of used in the Bible, especially Abib. All right, so that's the first month. Now look at vernal equinox occurs at day 1. So always the lamb is set aside on the 10th of the month. Okay? Always. So that every single time, if you begin the year at the vernal equinox, which we just saw, you will always be in sync with the original day that God had Moses set aside the lamb. And you will always be in sync with the day Christ was arrested. Okay, and there is a sync with the flood also. But again, the Noahic dates that I've got in here are sort of tentative. I have to really, refine that. But at least you're in sync with the Bible's dates for the other things. Okay, again, the 14th, by sundown, that's when Christ died. Okay? At sundown is when you're supposed to start to eat the lamb, and unfortunately, both the Mishnah, at least my Jacob Neusner translation, and many of the English translations of the Bible in Exodus 12 make it look like you slay the lamb at twilight. No, that's when you have to start eating. Okay, the Hebrew says you have to do it before then. All right, you have to slay it before then. You have to slay it towards evening. Both the Hebrew and the Greek LXX say towards. It's not the same as at. So that's a mistranslation in English Bibles and in the Mishnah. It shows that the Jews had it screwed up. But Christ died at the right time. So the 15th, which is right here, the beginning of the Unleavened Bread Festival, begins at sundown on the 14th, solar. Now that's really clever because the solstice, or not solstice, the equinox, is occurring at a given hour. We just saw that. The vernal equinox is occurring at a given hour. The new moon is occurring at a given hour. So by setting up the dates, which of course he did, beginning at the recreation of the world, all right, I cover the fact that the world was restored, not initially created in Genesis 1, 2, and following. I did 47 videos on that in the Genesis videos. You can go look it up. Okay, the point is that since the Jewish day begins at sundown, it's always going to be in sync with the vernal equinox and with the new moon. All right? The new moon doesn't matter in terms of determining the calendar, but it did matter for other purposes. And so the important thing is to make sure that you know when the syncing occurs, and it's based on an hour, a given hour of that day. So if the Jewish day is beginning in an evening and ending at sundown, it's always going to be in sync with time. That's what's so cool about this. So if you start your day at the vernal equinox, now remember, it begins at a certain hour. So if the hour of the day is after sundown, then that's what, that it occurs, then you're beginning day 1 of the year at sundown. All right? When it occurs, day 1 of the year begins. So that Adar, which is the last month, let me roll down and show you what Adar is. Okay, look in the column A. Okay, I'm going through all the months with their Bible names. All right, and I do use the modern names so that you can tie to them. Okay, Adar is the very last month of the year. Okay, and I let it run until 35, but you can add add a day here, because sometimes it'll be 36. All right, depending on the hour of the vernal equinox. You're just running from after 30, you're just running it until the next vernal equinox occurs. It's a no-brainer. You see that? So Adar will end at a certain hour. The very last day of Adar will end at a certain hour, just, like 1 minute, 1 second before the vernal equinox. And then the next day starts at the vernal equinox. It's a no-brainer. So the last day of the year might be short. You see that? Or you can round it, because if the vernal equinox was occurring like in, before sundown, then you start the day before sundown. See how easy that is? So that you don't have to mess with what we moderns have to mess with, leap years. You don't have a leap year thing to mess with, because you know the hour of the equinox. All right? Because you know the hour of the new moon. It's calculatable. You don't have to go looking for it. You can calculate it, because you know the equinox. All right? So that to the minute you can time anything, and more importantly, in the Bible, you can go backwards in time and find out exactly what date a thing happened. So when you have 1 Kings 6:1, for example, which is telling you that the temple construction began on 2 Ziv, I think it's in 2 Kings 6:1, it might be in Chronicles, the 2 Ziv part. Okay, if it started on 2 Ziv, you can find out exactly when that was in the past, because it tells you how many years from the Exodus, and the Exodus was here. It actually, it began, the night they ate the Passover, which began the 15th, and then that following morning, that's when they get shooed out of Egypt. All right? So you know when it began, exactly. Because you know what the 15th, it's the 480th year after the Exodus. You know exactly what day the Exodus began. And you know exactly how to count 2 Ziv, because look, here's 2 Ziv. It's always the 33rd day of the year. Always. So long as you're beginning at the vernal equinox, see this, the columns, okay, the far left, okay, Ziv is always the 33rd day of the year. So you know exactly when that was. Now that's why I've got to go back and in my own Junior's XLS worksheet, a link will be in the sidebar, I have to refine my dates. They're accurate within 6 months most of the time, but I can probably refine them and get them more accurate. Okay? So anyway, that's the idea behind this, and I hope that this helps.